Most people in their 50s are thinking 401ks, an empty nest, and traveling. But life for these families is quite different. They've chosen to adopt children after the older ones are grown. At first you may think they're crazy, but after you hear their stories, I'm sure you'll have a whole new outlook. Stay with us. Bob and Tracy Gavigan of Franklin, Tennessee have been married for around 30 years and are the proud parents of 4 biological children. Earlier in their marriage, they had considered adoption, but the timing never seemed right. With most of their children grown, Bob and Tracy finally took the leap and brought home 2-year-old Sophie from China last December.
The seed was planted, again, 10, 12 years ago, and we were very serious about adopting, but with 4 kids that were much, much younger at that time, we felt like, again, it wasn't really God's plan for us at that point in time. But he convicted us later, certainly, and the rest is history, certainly. Well, you went to a presentation called Show Hope. Mm-hmm. How did that impact your lives? Well, Show Hope is a movement to care for orphans. And in a roundabout way, somehow we wound up going to one of their presentations called Cinderella here in Nashville. Tracy kind of caught the eyes of a little girl sitting right in front of us at this Show Hope event. The little girl was Chinese.
Probably 3, I think.
About 3 years old.
3.
And Tracy just couldn't keep her eyes off her and kept kind of, Bob, look at this little girl here. I think it's time. We came back from that and then just said, I was 50 at the time, she was 48. It's now or never.
I wasn't thinking we would adopt a 3-year-old. I was thinking because of our age, we would have maybe a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old. So I was up for that. And for a year during our process, I assumed she would be older. And then when we saw her file, when it came time for that day, that special day, we saw her file and she was barely 1. And I think then we had 24 hours to make up our minds, and we ended up going for it. So when you laid eyes on Sophie for the first time, what were some of the emotions going through you? She was just, I don't know, she was an angel, really.
Yep. And I was the first one that held her. I couldn't wait.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait to get my hands on Sophie. But she was very, very scared, cried, blinked a lot. But it was just, it's a moment in time you'll never forget, trust me. Did your friends think you were nuts to adopt at this stage in life?
I would say so, definitely.
If not outright so, they were confused, to say the least.
Our family.
But I think they've all done a turnabout now since we brought Sophie home.
They love her, all of them. But it is a big step to take, and I think our age probably just shocked everyone. But I mean, it's totally okay. We love it.
I sat down with 3 of the Gavigan children, 15-year-old Hallie, 20-year-old Jesse, and 29-year-old Mandy. All were thrilled when they heard their parents were adopting. While friends and family had concerns, the Gavigan kids knew it was right for their family. Sophie aside, did you have any concerns about your parents adopting a child?
No, because, you're only as old as you feel. Well, and they lead a very healthy lifestyle. And Sophie not only has them, but she also has all of us.
Yeah, she'll have us for the rest of her life, and it's not just going to be mom and dad, taking care of her.
She's going to be.
She's gonna have a whole family that's going to love her and take care of her. So.
Yeah, for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Hallie, you were the baby in the family till Sophie came along. Did you have any doubts about a younger child coming into the household?
Oh yeah, I had a lot. Even though I'm the one who kind of pushed them to do it, I was kind of worried that I wouldn't be like the baby anymore, because I've been the baby for like almost 15 years. I was thinking I would be more jealous, like leading up to my parents getting Sophie, but once she got here, like the jealousy just went away, and it's all good.
Can you imagine your lives without little Sophie?
Absolutely not.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
She's only been with you a short time. You feel like she's been there forever?
Yeah, it seems like she was just meant to be in our family, like I said before. I mean, how I feel for Sophie is the same as how I feel for Jesse, Hallie, and Kevin, who's not here.
Yeah, it's like a different kind of love, but at the same time, it's still just as special as it is.
Yeah.
You know, being just connected by blood instead of because we're all God's children, and I think it's a blessing that she's a part of our lives as one of our siblings now.
Yeah, and we'll get to see her grow up, and it's
Yeah.
going to be so exciting.
Coming up, we'll meet a couple who felt called to adopt 3 beautiful children from China.
Look around you. We're surrounded by people who courageously face difficult obstacles life has thrown in their paths. Tune in each week to meet people who show there are positive, godly solutions to tough, critical situations. This Emmy Award-winning show tackles challenging life issues such as abortion, stem cell research, and adoption, and shows every human life is valuable and precious. Join us for inspiring stories of people facing life head on.
Dwayne and Marla Hastings of Franklin, Tennessee have been married for about 30 years. They were already the parents of 5 children when Marla felt called to expand their family.
The first adoption was in 2005, and it was we were matched with a healthy girl, Gracie, precious girl, 17 months, very baby-like. I mean, in the orphanage they can't stimulate them and encourage them to develop because there's just not enough hands to help. But it was amazing to me how from the first day when she just sort of shut down and just laid there and sat there and didn't do anything, by the end of that week she was, sliding off the bed to put her feet on the floor and holding on and just really doing everything that a baby should be able to do.
It happened that quickly.
Yes.
It did, and it really shows you that
does.
blossoming, what love, the difference love can make. And God created us to have that need and to have that need met with a mommy and a daddy. And that's the tragic thing with the orphans around the world. They're not having those needs met and many other needs met.
Right. That's what just, crushes my spirit to think about those that are still languishing in a bed, waiting for someone just to look at them and smile and, pick them up and hold them. I mean, that's what kills me for those kids. And that's why we do what we do, because every child deserves a family.
The Hastings went on to adopt 2 more children. In 2008, China put a stop to healthy child adoptions, so the Hastings looked into children with special needs. After the Hastings brought him home, James required treatment for a cleft lip and palate, as well as hepatitis B. He was healed of the hepatitis B and is doing amazingly well. A few years later, the Hastings adopted another special needs boy named Hudson. He was born with a single ventricle and had 2 open heart surgeries before being adopted. Hudson is the Hastings' little miracle and has brought joy and an infectious smile into the family. You have 5 older children. What was their reaction to your idea of adopting?
Well, we went to seminary with 5 children, which was a crazy thing too. And so we just built on that. If God calls you to something, you just do it. It does seem crazy, but the thought of having a little one around was really appealing to our youngest at that time. They were 13 and 14 years old. It was just part of what Mom and Dad felt called to do. I'm sure that they have had moments when that child is screaming that they're thinking, what in the world? But at the end of the day, we're family, and we feel no differently about our adopted children as we do our biological children, and I don't think they do either.
Now, most people in your age bracket are thinking about 401ks. They're thinking, the nest is going to be empty. We can remodel the rooms. We can travel more. Do you ever stop to think of what you're missing because of these choices you made?
No, I can't say that I ever have.
There are times when I long to go to the beach just to have some quiet, relaxing vacation. But vacations are hard work for us anyway, to take a bunch of kids with you. So we really don't think about it. And
Yeah.
you're right, we've not done vacations.
Yeah, it's just
not
for
a
me, every
priority
day is
for
a
us.
vacation. I mean, it's a really crazy thing. When I get to come home to whatever child is in the house at that moment, it's just it's a tremendous thing. Obviously, to me, on earth, the sweetest words are daddy. I mean, when Hudson comes and runs and greets me, or one of the other kids do, or that's
Fills
what
your
makes,
cup.
yeah, it does.
In a moment, we'll meet a younger couple who started a helpful and resourceful adoption ministry at their church.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
Shane Pass is the children's minister at Clearview Baptist Church in Franklin, Tennessee. With help from his wife Heather, Shane started an adoption and widow care ministry at his church that provides financial support to families pursuing adoption. They also have a mentoring community made up of families who've adopted in the past and can provide emotional and practical support.
I really wanted to find people who knew how to minister through their experiences of adoption. I want to partner people with mentors, and so that you're not left alone when they start handing you paperwork, or they say, okay, we need a dossier, and you're going, what is a dossier? And where do I find it? Really, there's somebody to hold your hand and walk you through the process. Sometimes things don't go through the way you think they do, and adoptions fail, and you need somebody to love on you. My desire is for our church body to look beyond themselves. We live in a wealthy community, and figure out how can they reach out to the fatherless here in our community and our neighboring city. We also have families who foster and foster to adopt. So there's a lot of resources in our community where our church body can plug into the fatherless.
Shane and Heather had been married for 17 years and had no children. But in 2009, while on a sabbatical in the Holy Land, they received a call from friends who had turned down an adoption and wanted to recommend Shane and Heather. After prayerful consideration, Shane and Heather decided to take the leap. Unfortunately, the adoption fell through, but they still had the desire to adopt a child. 2 more failed adoptions followed, but they refused to lose hope. 6 months ago, their faith was rewarded when they brought home a baby girl named Hallie.
What was it like to meet Hallie for the first time?
That was the best.
Yeah.
The first day we met Hallie, wow, okay.
Well, it was the day she was born.
It was the day she was born.
Yeah, they called us from her regular doctor's appointment and said we're going to induce labor, and we got on a plane and we were there. The birth mother allowed us to be the first ones to hold her, touch her, give her her first bottle. And so I was right there in the nursery with her, and I will never forget walking into that nursery and seeing that sweet baby. And she felt like she had always been a part of me. I mean, there was absolutely no distance there at all. It was just, I scooped her up and I just said, I'm your mama. And she just has this way of looking at you and loving you with her eyes, and that's what she did.
It was a really special moment.
This is a promise fulfilled.
Yeah.
We made a promise to ourselves that we would stand on the promises of God and not the words of man. And Psalm 113:9 says that He will make the barren woman a happy mother of children. And I put that in our bathroom because that's where we go every day. And I looked at it multiple times a day and I said, that's what I'm standing on. That's what the Lord promises. That moment that we held her was God's faithfulness and His provision, and an amazing end to a long journey, and a wonderful picture of how much He loved us.
Adopting a child is an expensive process, but if prospective parents are determined, the money seems to come in some form or another. Shane and Heather were blessed by financial gifts from their friends, family, and congregation. Dwayne and Marla Hastings received grants from organizations like Show Hope and Life Song. Bob and Tracy Gavigan decided to raise the money themselves by creating Sophie's project. Local businesses paid for spots on a uniquely designed advertising poster that promoted them in the community while it spread the adoption story. Bob and Tracy hope families looking to adopt will use Sophie's project to help alleviate the financial burden.
It's really just a way for parents to go into their business community and provide a benefit to the business community, basically, in the professional community, by promoting their businesses in a very, very positive and unique way. So Sophie's project makes distribution of several thousand prints throughout the town. Once our artist photographs the businesses and the points of interest in the town, and creates an artist renditioning of that town from an aerial perspective. So the product is really quite unique, but it's simply a way for an adoptive set of parents to either go out to the community full-time, part-time, and really just have a way to engage and also tell the adoption story. I think Tracy would tell you that there were so many interesting discussions taking place about adoption and bringing orphans home through her project. So it really was more than just a fundraising project. It was really a way to tell our story and to hopefully motivate others in the business community to think about adoption.
There's so many avenues to take to raise money for adoption, and for us, this just to be able to raise the money ourselves, but then have something to give back to the community as well, and everybody's happy, hopefully.
We've created a website for additional information. The interesting thing is people in the business community now have a greater awareness of this that they've never had before, we feel like. And gosh, if we can work with other adoptive parents to be able to do the same thing in their home communities or towns, what a blessing for everybody involved.
When we return, we'll hear advice for older couples who think adoption might be for them.
Look around you. Every day, heroes abound in our country. We're surrounded by people who courageously face difficult obstacles life has thrown in their paths. Tune in each week to meet people who show there are positive, godly solutions to tough, critical situations. We'll tackle challenging life issues such as abortion, stem cell research, adoption, and abstinence, and show that every human life is valuable and precious. Join us for inspiring stories of people facing life head-on.
Bob and Tracy Gavigan and Dwayne and Marla Hastings are living proof it's never too late to adopt and provide a loving home and family to a child. The examples they've set for their children may inspire future generations to adopt and carry on the legacy.
One of the biggest blessings is it's not just a blessing for me, and it's not just a blessing for Sophie or my parents, but through this adoption, I've fallen in love with this process, and the love that I have for these children, it can be passed on to somebody else. So it's funny how God can work. Like, she can take Sophie, but also while he's doing that, he's thinking of other children that are going to need homes in the future. So
I'm looking forward to being able to help families raise money for adoption, because some of the best parents that aren't, don't have tons and tons of money, they're the ones that can take, the best care of a child. And, I want to adopt. And, the project that they did for Sophie, I'm hoping to do for myself.
What would the two of you say to other couples who may be in the same position but feel they're too old to adopt children?
I would say if their heart's really, in this, that, and they have the energy, certainly, that they should do it.
Nothing will bring you more joy than a child. That's just the way we feel. So we don't understand the reasons why a couple would not want to adopt.
What do your years look like right now? What are you filling your time with? How do you use the time that God gives you? Is that a good use of your time? Even if it's not adopting, maybe it's helping someone that has adopted that's struggling. I'm committed more and more recently about those families that come home. They get through the adoption process, and now what?
I think what happened with us is probably one of the best things that anybody can do, and that's financially support. It's a very expensive process, and especially when you get a call, and we actually had 40 days. We have a lot of people who have a week or 2 days, or any amount of time. You still can't prepare what normally it takes 9 months to prepare for. And so the gift of money, the gift of practical needs being met, things that you may have in your attic or your closet that you know you're not going to use again, that you know could benefit that family. And then we've just had an outpouring so sweet of people who just want to come and sit with her and hold her and love on her and let us, do some things.